before I fought with Golovkin, no, he's a monster. He's gonna knock out Canelo. He's this and that. At the end of the day, it's not the same. Be in the ring with other fighters like be in the ring with me. It's different. Benavidez is a good fight. It's a good fighter, but I mean, man, I've been in the ring in hard fights with every single good fighter there, so.
Canelo Alvarez has finally reacted to the news that he will fight DavidBenavidez for $600 million. This is a very strange surprise. Canelo Alvarez has finally said something about the $650 million fight he is going to have with DavidBenavidez. No one is happy that Michael Benson has to fight Benavidez now that the WBC's decision has been confirmed. Mauricio Suleiman, who is in charge of the WBC, has made it clear that Benavidez will fight Alvarez in March. This new trend adds to the excitement of a fighting scene that was already very interesting.
March of this year. Yeah. So his date for mandatory position is March 2024.
Wow. All right. So, but Canelo has the option to take that earlier. That's
yeah, like, yeah. So they can.
It's easy to think of great things when you hear the name Canelo Alvarez. He had a strong and good image when he died. But it looks like he will have to fight DavidBenavidez, a fighter whose skill and desire are about the same as Alvarez's when he was younger. In a tweet, Michael Benson said that DavidBenavidez will fight Canelo Alvarez in March as his WBC mandatory challenger. President of the WBC Mauricio Suleiman has said it again. Suleiman hasn't said when the fight will happen, but Canelo will be free to fight someone else in May. As you can see, it looks like the moment everyone has been waiting for has finally arrived. Canelo is getting ready for the highly anticipated fight that has gotten a lot of people excited. A comment from last year by WBC President Mauricio Suleiman said that DavidBenavidez would have to fight Alvarez if he beat Demetrius Andrade. Since the WBC made their decision, Alvarez is under more and more pressure to let Benavidez fight for the coveted undisputed super middleweight belt. Interestingly, until not long ago, a lot of news outlets said that Jermall Charlo would be Alvarez's next opponent. On the other hand, what WBC President Mauricio Suleiman said not long ago could change how people think about Canelo's next opponent. And Suleiman knew that the next step would be for Benavidez and Canelo to fight.
That we know DavidBenavidez has been campaigning to get an opportunity to fight Canelo Alvarez. I saw a headline that stated that, Canelo Alvarez is going to be mandated, should he be victorious this Saturday. Obviously, that's putting the carriage before the horse. But if he's victorious this Saturday, does the winner of this fight inherit DavidBenavidez as a mandatory challenger?
Benavidez is the mandatory for the WBC, and the date for mandatory is March. So the winner of the fight, if it's Charlo, he will decide if he remains in super middle, goes back to super welter. But I just consider.
Suleiman also said that Benavidez might have to fight Canelo Alvarez as a matter of course, saying, "Yes, it is quite possible." In March, Benavidez says that he is required to do so. He then talked about talks that are already going on between the teams, saying that if Canelo fights for May, they are already negotiating and talking. They are free to deal with us. The WBC can step in after May, after seeing what happens. Alvarez, meanwhile, has said that he will fight an American on May 4th, which is also Cinco de Mayo weekend. Jermall Charlo, who was motivated by seeing his brother fail, was once thought to be the most likely choice, but DavidBenavidez, who is also American, is still in the running. The result is still unknown. Will Alvarez fight Benavidez, or will the WBC step in and make him give Benavidez a chance? At this point, Alvarez has already ruled out the idea of fighting Terence Crawford next. Think about how exciting it would be if Alvarez and Terence Crawford went head-to-head. Even so, Alvarez hasn't shown much interest in the idea. Even though he beat Errol Spence Jr. in a spectacular way last year, Crawford still can't get the match he wants. There is a fact that Canelo weighs 20 pounds more than Crawford. Canelo had previously said that he might fight an American in Las Vegas on May 4th, but he has now publicly ruled out Crawford. If you asked Canelo straight, he would say no. It doesn't look like Canelo is motivated by money either. He knows that fighting Crawford could be profitable, but he doesn't think it's worth the criticism he would have to deal with.
Contrary to what you would normally believe. I don't get pissed off at much because most things don't matter that much, but I love the sport of boxing. I'm like, what about DavidBenavidez, the natural super middleweight, who's 28-0 with 24 knockouts, who's been begging for Canelo to get into the ring with him?
The Guadalajara fighter will still fight on Cinco de Mayo weekend. His next fight is scheduled for May 4th, 2024. The fight will happen in Las Vegas, and the T-Mobile Arena and the MGM Arena are two possible places to hold it. While this was going on, Canelo was asked about his next opponent after beating Charlo. He gave an honest answer.
You think Benavidez could beat Canelo? And any thoughts, you know, a week removed from that Benavidez Plant fight?
That's a tough fight. It's a tough fight because people just look at this matchup, but it's styles that makes the fight. And Canelo does a lot of things really well inside the ring. And he'll get up for a fight like that. He'll really, really get up. But Benavidez is the real deal. I mean, I love him as a fighter. Love him as a fighter.
Fun to watch.
Yeah, fun to watch. Very, very, very entertaining. I mean, I don't know where Canelo is at now. After didn't he come off of an injury?
Yes.
I don't know where he's at with that. You got to kind of see that. Benavidez young and in his prime. So it would be a great fight.
It'd be a good bump.
On the other hand, Benavidez has openly asked Canelo to fight him for the 168-pound undisputed title. But it looks like the Mexican has chosen someone else to fight. Should that deal fall through, Benavidez will be ready because he works with Al Haymon's PBC and Canelo has a 3-fight deal with them.
Yeah, fun to watch. Very, very, very entertaining. I mean, I don't know where Canelo is at now. After didn't he come off of an injury?
Yes.
I don't know where he's at with that. You got to kind of see that. Benavidez young and in his prime. So it would be a great fight.
It'd be a good bump, like you said.
Yeah, I would love it.
On the other hand, the sport's most famous global superstar might want to fight Bud, who beat him to become the #1 pound-for-pound fighter after Alvarez beat Charlo. Since Crawford is American and has ties to the PBC, it's possible that these two boxing stars have made a secret deal. Right now, the fight with Terence Crawford doesn't make sense, Canelo said to stop the talk. I just want to let myself enjoy this.
Benavidez Canelo, and many people want to see the fight. I don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Hey, and how does it feel to be in the Hall of Fame, man? How does it feel to be?
I feel great. I feel great after the many years of career.
Yes.
This is the last step to get the International Boxing Hall of Fame. I feel great. I feel very happy.
Let me ask both. Do y'all feel like? Let me ask both of y'all. Do y'all feel like Canelo? Do y'all dislike that statement about not fighting Mexican fighters?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because there's a lot of great Mexican fighters, you know, that Canelo can make the fight happen. You know, I feel like it feels such for the Mexican people, bro. Why not all break bread each other? Why not? Let's make a big fight happen. We all get paid, and you know, we put on for Mexico.
Many Mexican people want to see the fight Canelo Benavidez. I don't know. The people want to see the people that I don't know. The promoters needs to.
Ellerby stresses how important PPV success is in figuring out if big fights can happen. His analysis is based on a deep knowledge of the boxing business. He says that a fight with Crawford might be interesting for sports fans, but a fight between Benavidez and Alvarez could bring in a lot more money.
I think it's a really, really good fight. Like I said, I'm a Benavidez fan, so I think Benavidez could have the edge because it's bigger and taller, but Canelo's a great fighter, so I don't know.
It's good for boxing. It'll be a big one.
It's great.
Ellerby uses the highly expected but underrated fight between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford to show how different fights are and how popular they are with boxing fans and how successful they are in the business world. Even though the fight was important in the boxing world, it didn't get as many pay-per-view viewers as other big fights, like the one between Gervonta Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia.
Focus on this fight, but everything is possible right now.
So is the plan to go back-to-back with the brothers? You said no up there, so that's not the plan?
It's not my plan. Right now, I'm focused 100% in Jermel, but you never know.
Ellerby's ideas show how difficult it is to strike a balance between the sport's integrity and its business goals. They stress how important it is to make smart choices that respect the sport's competitive spirit while also making sure it can make money. Ellerby's commentary sheds light on the complicated factors that go into putting together huge boxing events by focusing on long-term planning and smart fight selection. Ellerby says that the company said something different. There was a fight between them and Tank that did much better than that one. But again, you need to understand how this works. With the kind of experience we've had, you know what these markets are like and how to spot fraud and
steadily improves. And I think as a coach, that's what you look for in a fighter. You look in a young fighter, it doesn't matter the age, just fight by fight, he seems to be getting better.
Ellerby's experienced view shows the complex forces at work in the boxing business, emphasizing how important it is to make smart decisions for the sport's growth and success. At the same time, the famous former Mexican fighter Juan Manuel Marquez has said that he wants Canelo to fight DavidBenavidez and has suggested that the fight happen as soon as possible. According to Marquez, Canelo has been here as an official challenger for more than a year. If Canelo doesn't agree to the fight right away, the World Boxing Council will have to remove him as champion. The most important thing is that he has to meet the Mexican fighter because he is the official challenger. The fight could happen in May or September. What will happen if the fight doesn't happen? However, Canelo has already said in an interview with Hugo Sanchez that he plans to keep fighting for at least 4 more years. But before he retired, Canelo said that he wanted to hold a fight at the Azteca Stadium in Mexico City, which is the best place for sports in Mexico. Canelo Alvarez said, "I will fight anyone on May 4th, 2024. The words did not bother me after his win over Jermall Charlo. Alvarez has fought a lot of tough opponents, but his fight with Shane Mosley stands out as one of the hardest. Actually, Alvarez won, but Mosley saw the young boxer's skills grow over the 10 years since that fight. Now, Mosley thinks DavidBenavidez could really shine against Alvarez." Mosley went into more detail in a recent talk with Fight Hype about the things about Benavidez that make him a tough opponent for Canelo. He also talked about Benavidez's recent win over Demetrius Andrade. Mosley praised Benavidez's unwavering desire to fight and mental toughness, which he thinks make him a truly great boxer. This is what he said. In Mosley's opinion, a fight between Canelo and Benavidez would not only be close, but Alvarez would also have to change how he fights someone who has different strengths. In the end, Mosley talked about Benavidez's biggest edge over Alvarez, saying, "As this talk shows, high-level boxing matches involve a lot of physical and strategic factors. This adds to the excitement surrounding a possible fight between Canelo and Benavidez." Mosley's analysis gives boxing fans a look at the challenges and chances that such a fight would bring, making them even more excited for what could be a memorable match in the sport. On the other hand, Bud didn't spend any time when asked what he thought about a possible fight between Canelo Alvarez and DavidBenavidez. This was right after the press conference for his March 30th fight. He says that he really likes Benavidez and calls him an absolute monster and absolute animal. Right now, he seems to favor Benavidez over Canelo. During their conversation, he claimed, but organizer Samson Lukovic says the fight that was supposed to happen between Canelo and Benavidez will not happen. Interview 24. A former trainer of Abel Sanchez says that DavidBenavidez has not beaten any well-known opponents to get a chance to fight Canelo Alvarez, who is the undisputed super middleweight king. Sanchez is still not pleased by DavidBenavidez's perfect record, saying that recent wins over 35-year-old middleweight Demetrius Andrade, who wasn't fighting, and Caleb Plant, who was knocked out by Canelo by decision after 12 rounds, didn't do much to impress him. Sanchez says that Benavidez's recent wins over Demetrius Andrade, a 35-year-old middleweight who hasn't fought in years, and Caleb Plant, a 12-round decision winner who was knocked out by Canelo in the past, didn't impress. Sanchez says that Benavidez needs to beat Jermall Charlo to get a fight with Canelo. It's interesting that Sanchez doesn't rate David Morrell Jr., a super middleweight boxer who seems unbeatable. Sanchez thinks that if Benavidez wants to fight Canelo, he should fight Morrell instead of Jermall Charlo, a 33-year-old welterweight fighter. Even if Benavidez beat Jermall, he wouldn't get any attention because Charlo hasn't been fighting in a while, is in the wrong weight class at 168, and has been dealing with personal issues that have hurt his once promising future. That's all for today's video. Don't forget to leave a review if you liked it.